Don't hear you at the moment. Whereabouts are you? I saw you driving a little bit north from me earlier. This is Brent on the radio. Yeah, I heard the Franklin just behind me, just on the sort of northwestern side of the drainage line. So I'm just turning around again. Beautiful sunrise there. Andrew's on camera this morning. He's normally flying the drone. This morning we don't have a drone out, so he's coming with us. And you won't see him, but Drew's also along with us. Oh, that was brilliant. I've got a little bit of tricky driving to do here, which usually I wouldn't mind you hanging around for, but I think Hayden might be catching up with that line again soon. So enjoy it with him. I'll see you back in a bit.
Folks, I've just stopped here to try and hear if there was any alarm calls from any antelope or any other animals. The lion came off quarantine and went into this really, really thick country down here, and it's gone down into this drainage line, and it's impenetrable for us in this sort of country. We can't really go any further. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn around and just go back up and see if I can see him from there. You can see a road across the other side there. Just see that little tiny bit of road just over there. There you go, yeah, that little bit of road there. I'm going to go over there and see if I can follow that drainage line down. It's the other side, but we've got to go back and all the way around because this country here is just too thick, and we're driving over too much vegetation. He is in there, and if we can find him, we will find him, of course. That's the whole thing about Safari Live, and we do it with good ethics and morals, and just make sure that we give the animal right of way, but at the same time try and get the animal visual. Just before we went live, he dropped down into that drainage line, and I tried to follow, but really, really tricky country through there. And these vehicles are incredibly well adapted for this sort of terrain. Very short wheelbase, and we get through. Brent came up onto quarantine and saw the line and gave us a quick call, and I rushed across to try and find it. So there's impala just here, and if the line was anywhere around here, these impala would probably know about it. So what we will do is peel up around here. What a fantastic week it's been, hey? Incredible stuff. Beautiful leopard last night, 2 leopard, you know, to see Shadow and Mvula in the last 15 minutes of the program was just extraordinary. And, you know, Pieter and James's patience and perseverance always pays off. But, you know, Scott and Jeandre's sighting yesterday was just incredible. To have them on foot spotting leopard and seeing where they were, and that leopard didn't know they were there, was a pretty extraordinary encounter. I could feel the excitement for them. So I've just got to try and get back up to this road. We're on a little game path here. And you know what, Brent and the guys and the trackers, they're always out for us. So it's a huge team effort, and it's just a really great thing to be part of it. Trick. So while I negotiate this bit of terrain and get across this drainage line and go down the other side, let's cross across even to James and see what he's up to on bushwalk. I'll see you just now.
You on? Louise? Sorry about this. Louise, we have got full audio here. Okay, everybody, sorry about that. Let me start that again. My name is James and Jeandre. We're on a bushwalk today here in the 8 million acres of the Kruger National Park. Jeandre is on camera. As I was just explaining, he's got sort of a sleeveless vest on. It sort of exposes his muscles to the elements. Stefan is on security detail, and we're going to take you on a little journey of adventure through the bush on foot. Now, for those of you who are perhaps new viewers, you're of course most welcome. Hashtag Safari Live if you want to ask us any questions, or questions at wildearth.tv if you want to send us an email. The idea behind this walk is to discover some of the smaller things in the bush. If we do come across some big animals, well, then it's always wonderful to view them on foot, but it's not going to be a specific tracking expedition unless we find some very fresh tracks. We'll be looking for insects and birds and tracks and all the sort of medicinal plants and other interesting little things that we sometimes miss in the car. Right, the first thing we're going to do is head down into this drainage line here and see what was moving around there during the course of the night time. It is of course summer, and so all of the insects are out. The birds are breeding, so we're looking for nests. There's a wonderful dawn chorus going on all around us at the moment, and it's just very special to be out on foot without any other noise but the sound of our feet falling on this ancient African wilderness. Right. The first thing I'll show you here today is this tree here. Now, it's quite an interesting one because it often is misidentified as a much more common tree called the knobthorn tree. It's an acacia, and you can see the blackness of these thorns. Can you see the little black tips on the edges of the thorns, Jeandre? Can you see them? Marvelous. The black tips to these thorns give this tree its common name. Its common name is the black monkey thorn. I'm not sure where the monkey comes from, but you can see why they're called black monkey thorns. Vicious things, and I mean, were I to try and rub my hand over the top of this tree, I would tear the flesh off of my hand. A giraffe will come along here and wrap its tongue over the top of this leaf, of this branch, and pull the leaves off with its tongue. How it does that is absolutely beyond me. We think maybe there's a lot of saliva that's produced by the giraffe that allows them to kind of pull off the thorns. At the same time, if you feel a dead giraffe's tongue, it's not a kind of hard leathery thing, it's actually quite soft. So maybe the epidermal layer or top layer of the tongue just replaces itself very often. We think maybe that's how they do it. But to me it's a bit of a mystery, because this is a vicious sharp thorn. Right, let's carry on here. Oh, the last thing you can see here is that an elephant has been eating on the end of this tree, and that's why it's such a scraggly kind of example of the tree. The elephants have taken off the bark. In fact, elephants have just bitten off whole sections of this tree as they've gone through here, feeding through the woodland. Okay, let's head across to Pieter. He's going to give you an update on his leopard tracking expedition. Jeandre's got the camera stuck in the tree. We'll try and extricate it, and we'll see you just now.
Right, well, some spider webs. We've actually left the leopard again, whipped around to the other road. We are now close to one of the old hyena dens, and I just want to see, there was a report of the lion coming through here, heading east, so I'll hopefully catch up with him on the next road again. He's moving very, very fast. In fact, through the thicker bush, he's moving faster than we could earlier, which is why he seems to have given us the slip for now. I'm not sure which line it is, but I presume one of the Birmingham. Morning, Anthony. Welcome on safari as always. And are you wondering? Oh, there's a nice. So we've been talking about this just driving along on the vehicle here, just how beautiful the sunrise is. Quite like that. There's a nice view, the road and the tree and the sun, a very sort of early morning African scene. Anthony, you were just wondering what's the most efficient prey, or the most efficient hunter, sorry. It's a bit, I always hear people sometimes sometimes say elephants have a very insufficient or not a good digestive system, but at the same time, elephants have lived for thousands of years. And what I mean to say with that is, you get some hunters like leopard would be more efficient when it comes to stalking and pouncing, but you know, nothing is as efficient as lions when it comes to hunting buffalo. So all hunters that have survived for, you know, many generations would be very sufficient. Wild dogs are extremely efficient hunters, and you know, in terms of sort of hunt effort relative to actual getting food outcome, probably statistically wild dogs would be the most efficient, but all efficient just in different ways and different sort of hunting strategies and approaches to it. Just checking here for tracks, hyena tracks. Yarn. Man, kan ek jou 'n paar minute join daarso? Dankie. Ek dink hulle sit nog hang daar, daar is nog nie meer lank gewees op dit nie. Well, guys, that was obviously very good news for us. One of the other game drives got to fly. Hopefully we'll fly. Saying is that a very important aspect of the safari is the interconnection, if you want, with the radio communications between the different vehicles, because we found the line, we lost it because of thick bush. Another game driver on his way had an idea where the line was heading. He would check the next road, and sometimes, well, not sometimes, often that teamwork would be essential in actually finding animals and being able to show them to other guests as well. So perfect example of it this morning. And I understood it correctly, we're going to go over to HD, to Hayden, and see what he's up to. Although I think we'll get you back here very shortly for this line. We're quite close to where it should be.
So I've just come out of that really thick country, folks, and it's hard to negotiate through there, hard to see anything as well. We turned the engine off a couple of times, listened out for any alarm calls. Wasn't anything. I think he's gone down in this drainage line. He potentially could come out on this road down here. We're going to go down and then hang a left and see what we're up with. It's frustrating, but at the same time exciting when we just saw him drop down into the drainage line. I think it's that Birmingham boy that's been around for the last few days on the other side of the reserve, the one with the sore eye. He looked pretty good. He looked like he was walking nicely. He wasn't limping or anything like that. So hopefully we're going to catch up with him. All we've got to do is try and intercept him crossing this road. So keeping our eyes peeled here. The interesting thing was also that Brent came up on quarantine and he said he saw this line and he thought there was a female there as well from a distance. Okay, I think someone's already got it. Let's go.
Well, very good example of how well the teamwork of the different safari vehicles works. We've got this lion again. We haven't actually seen him from the front. I will have a look just now, but I've got a strong feeling that it's obviously one of the Birmingham Boys. And I think possibly even that guy that had the injury under the eye that a number of times over the last while. As he's walking away, just look down there, or where he's walking. Little footpath that he's moving along. The beautiful things that we see from the drones is just the network, like the veins of the sort of footpaths in the bush. Obviously, we just come past the waterhole here, Treehouse Dam in the back, and footpaths would converge on waterholes, or sort of typically animals continue. practical. In this case, we can just follow the same footpath. That's exactly the way he's walking. And a lot of these old tracks, well, a lot of the old roads that we have around here are actually from old animal footpaths that would then become a little track for cars, and then at the time we use them as old tracks would be a better word than roads. Go around him a bit towards the eastern horizon again. Which the antenna there. There we go. Trying to get around him a bit. There he goes. Guys, we're going to get closer to him shortly to get up ahead of where he's going, and then watch him a bit as he's heading our way. Yeah, that's the same male. We'll have a close look at him just now, and you'll see that scar under his right eye. Look at that, look at that, look at that. Big male, it's got that full mane. He's about 5 years old, give or take a few months. And we're just hearing on the radio again, talking to some of the other drives out there, that further to the southwest, well, from where we are almost due south by a few miles, some of the other Birmingham boys have been seen. What's he looking at? You see, he suddenly stopped. Just the way he stopped, the body position suggests that he's seen something. He doesn't look too lean. It looks like he's eaten maybe again since we've seen him last, so might be something that he's looking for hunting-wise, but his main focus here is not hunting. But if opportunity presents itself, any hunter will always hunt. See the way he's looking again. He's definitely seeing something. I can't see what it is. What is that? Movement of something. Oh, it's a buffalo. If you look straight through here. Just through there, you can just try and show you. There it is. Just there. Excuse me. Oh, sneeze. I think he's actually avoiding this buffalo. Now, on his own, it's not impossible, but it's very, very difficult and even very dangerous for him to hunt a buffalo on his own. They would normally, as a coalition, 2 or 3 of them together, they would be very successful buffalo hunters. But on his own, that would just be a risk that would be pointless for him to take. You see him? Oh, there he goes. Yeah, perfect. He's rather choosing to avoid it. With his ways. Bright, you were just, I think Bright was the name. Help me if the name is correct. You're just asking if Bryce, nice name, Bryce. You were wondering if all big cats purr, The only cats that you really hear quite often actually would be cheetah when you do see them. We don't see a lot of cheetah, but they do a more purr-like sound. Leopard and lion, not really. Man, Alcohol Safari from Texas. Sorry if I'm not looking at you while I'm speaking, because I don't really pay attention what we're doing here terrain-wise. There he's right in front of us. If lions have ever shown aggression towards me while following them in a vehicle like we're doing now? Not really, no. On foot they can be a bit more aggressive because they feel threatened. On foot they feel threatened by us. They would quite often threaten back. But in vehicles they don't perceive us as a threat. So unless you really do something to annoy them or harass them or something like that, then they might threaten you back. But otherwise not really. They're very used to the vehicles being part of their space. Let's get your view of him. He's moving quite fast. Keep in mind all these brush we're driving through, this is brush that's very tough and copes with elephant populations. There he goes, let's just have a look again. And cope with elephant populations and buffalo herds. So some of these branches we're driving over, they just pop up again afterwards. So just in case this is maybe the first time you're following something with us off-road. But yeah, he's definitely on a mission. Now, not so long ago, in the last week or so, last 2 weeks, there's been some sort of minor, what shall we say, political shifts, if you want, in the lion population, or these 5 males specifically. There was a little bit of inter-coalition arguments, presumably having something to do with mating opportunities or females. So he's been on his own mostly, this male, but he is part of a 5-male coalition. Birmingham Boys, if you've joined us over the last couple of days, the Big Cat Week, there's been some highlights and explanations of the Birmingham Boys and some of the history. Very interesting lions. But it's been quite a while now since he's been with the rest of his group. Guys, any stations from the west in the area of Gowrie, Main that copy? Guys, if you can copy, we're following Madura and Gala. We're going to come out in Gowrie, Main in a few minutes. He's heading south, if anyone's in the area. Okay, awesome. I think Hayden is heading that way. Yeah, it should be quite close to the road. It's just up ahead of us here. If anyone's in the area, I'll stand by. But we're going to have to have a last good look at him. He's going to cross very shortly. Run a little bit. Oh, bumpy work. Okay, we're on one of the boundary roads. Look at that. Look at that. There was a lot of bush to follow him through. You can see his right eye. In fact, it's so much better now. About a week ago, that was almost swollen shut, covered in blood, one of the injuries he carried. But wild lions typically have a lot of injuries like this, so. Oh, he's going to walk down the road for a bit. Lions actually do this very often. The road is obviously an easy place for him to walk, nice and clear, soft sand, or no sticks and things to worry about. I think Hayden might be getting some line for us later on as well, if all goes well. And but for now, James is going to take you along on the walk, and we'll see you back in a bit.
We're just looking, everybody. Inside here, there was a squirrel alarm calling. Somewhere in here. Now, squirrels will alarm call at any kind of predator, be it an avian one like an eagle, a terrestrial one like a leopard, or something like a snake which could be climbing in the trees or on the ground. They don't fly too much in this area. And they have got incredible vision. I've heard squirrels alarm calling and gone to check the tree and found the squirrel, and eventually found a leopard sort of 100 yards away or 100 meters away. And so they've got amazing vision. So while the squirrels are just inside here alarm calling, we're not necessarily that close to whatever it was that made them upset. We're just going to do a quick turn around here, and then there's some giant eagle owls calling behind us there, and we'll go across and see if we can't find them in their tree, hopefully on a nest. So we'll just do a quick turn through here, just carefully watching to see what might be in the bush. You can hear lots of birds going, white-browed scrub robins, doves. We had a lovely little interaction with some tawny-flanked priniers just now. They're fairly nondescript, but they were giving a real aerial display. Impossible to film, of course. Well, not without making you extremely nauseous. We'll head here, Jeandre. Right. Now, while we're walking along here, Connie, thank you for your question. I'm going to speak very quietly as we look for whatever that squirrel was alarm calling at. Connie, you want to know if we get carnivorous plants out here, like the Venus flytrap or pitcher plant? There are one or two species that you find in South Africa, none that I know of that grow in this particular area. You do get something quite interesting called a carrion plant, though, and the carrion plant smells like it eats flesh, but it actually just smells like rotting flesh, and that's because it obviously is pollinated. Look at the spider. It's because it's pollinated, Connie, by some kind of probably nocturnal moth that eats carrion or beetle. Isn't that beautiful? Does that help you with the hand behind or without, Jeandre?
Yeah, good.
Isn't that lovely, everybody? Tiny little spider, bright green. I don't know what kind of spider it is. It's one of the orb-web spiders. There he goes. Now, we get lots of different kinds of spiders, of course. An orb-web spider is one like this, the kind of traditional spider that sets its web up between 2 points like this, between these 2 trees. They put out some strands to support the web, and then they build in those concentric sort of circles or geometric shapes, depending on how many support strands they have. Then, most of our spiders, of course, do not build webs like this. We've got funnel web spiders and baboon spiders, which are like tarantulas, jumping spiders, which are hunters, wolf spiders, which lurk around at night time. They're also hunters. So spiders like the violin spider, which lives under bark or under a rock or something like that. But the orb-web spiders are the most iconic ones, and the ones that people are either most afraid of or most fascinated by. So let's leave his little web. His web's totally invisible to the eye. Let's go around here. Just see if we can't pick up on the squirrels. If we can't see them, we'll head back towards where those owls were calling. All right, while we're looking around here, Hayden's got some interesting things with long noses to show you. We'll head across to him, and I'll see you just now.
Well, we just got word that some of the Birmingham Boys are on Arethusa, so I've come up here. And you know when you're late for a meeting, you know when you're late for an appointment because the traffic's really bad? Yeah, I've got traffic. I've got a breeding herd of elephant here, and obviously we don't want to startle them, and we want to be very, very gentle as we approach always. And the whole idea about approaching a breeding herd of elephants is just go in slowly, slowly, let them know you're here, no startling, just to make sure you're checking all around you as well, because you could just drive right into the center of the herd, and there's elephants over here, there's elephants over here, and then you're actually committed to a situation where you can't move, and you've got to be very careful. It's quite important that you know, you respect the situation that they're in. They're a very, very tight-knit family group, and I definitely have got elephant all around us at the moment. So just let them get used to us, and we'll just drive on past. But we do have two of the Birmingham Boys just up around the corner here, and there's a bit of traffic at the moment. How fantastic though. What a beautiful morning it is here in the Sabi Sands. Great to be back in the vehicle. Look at that, beautiful. A lot of elephant here. So nice, so peaceful. We have a lot of elephant around us at the moment, so just going to take it very, very slowly here. It's a big herd. And you can see there's about 6 or 7, 8 tails. The other one, look at that little baby. How beautiful is that? That's a youngster. Wow, that's not very old at all. Probably only a couple of months old, I'd say. Gorgeous little babies. We've got some individuals over here. The interesting thing is also about elephants here in Sabi Sands. They're very, very conditioned or habituated to the vehicle, but you still have to be very respectful, because, as I said, this breeding herd, this tight-knit family, there could be a couple of breeding herds that have met up, and breeding herds normally add up to about sort of 11 to 15 individuals, 9 to 15 individuals, and then when you do see those big herds, it's normally several family groups, several breeding herds that have met up and are just grazing or browsing together through the vegetation. But if we were to startle one of the animals, and the matriarch didn't like that, she would rally the troops and get all the youngsters into a circle, and then the situation could be that, you know, she's not comfortable with us being around here. So really important that we look at it as a little, I think it's impala crossing the road up there ahead as well. Lots of these youngsters are really funny. They're just experiencing life, and they've got the protection of the herd around them, so they have a tendency to be a bit more playful. There's a really young one up there as well. So it just so happens that you can drive along this road many a time and not see an animal, but we do have a traffic jam, and what a traffic jam it is. I love it, absolutely love it. And how wonderful has the elephant encounters been over the past week on Big Cat Week? Fantastic encounters with Pieter and Jamie, and amazing stuff with James the other morning, that beautiful big bull. Scott and Brent both walking up onto elephants. There's a little tiny one just about to come. Look at him, just sticking his, just come out there. So when the animals are that age as well, the mothers and the matriarch are very, very protective over the situation. Look how beautiful that is. And I'm just sitting back this distance, folks, because the vegetation is very, very thick here. I'm not sure how many elephant there are around, and I don't want to push them off the road. They're very, very comfortable. It's not like they're passing. They're static. They're grazing, browsing on whatever those, I can't quite see from this distance, but they're well into a feeding time. Look at that little baby. How beautiful is that? So we're still waiting for the rain. It hasn't come yet. There's a lot of activity on the reserves. Beautiful little creature. You'll probably creep up a little bit closer. Just getting a gauge of... I can see some animals over here. I think they probably pass around the other side. Bull there. Very hard to see in this vegetation. We'll just creep up a little bit closer. I can see there through to see if there's any more individuals. Once they pass, and I'm happy that there's no others there and we're not cutting off the herd. Splitting the herd is always not ideal, particularly, as I said, with those youngsters, and huge respect, huge care. Remembering we are visitors in their environment. We are visitors in this theatre. Magic. So what we might do is, just whilst we're waiting for this traffic jam, I tell you, the frustrations of life in the bush, eh? Whilst we wait for this traffic jam, let's cross over to James. I'm sure he's got something interesting on bushwalk. He does amazing bushwalks, as do all the guys, but he's out there now. Let's cross over and see what he's up to.
Everybody, what you're viewing there is a tremendous example of the sacrifices to which we're prepared to go to bring you incredible coverage here from the African wild. While I was waiting to holding a fruit chaffer in my hand, I was attacked by a fly which stuck its nasty little proboscis into me and drew blood from my insubstantial calf. I don't have much flesh to lose from that particular region of my body, and the fruit chaffer has flown away. But Jeandre, there's something else down here. It is a beautiful, beautiful iridescent starling-coloured bug. Now, I'm not going to try and touch it because these bugs tend to smell. They tend to have a vicious kind of ability to give off foul-smelling substances. Probably thousands of species of shield bug, but this particular one is the most amazing starling sort of shaped colour, or starling-like colour. I'm going to turn him around to camera a bit. How's that, Jeandre? So there you can see the amazing iridescent greens and blues and red. He's almost got orange eyes like a Cape glossy starling. You can see there's orange bits there. Like I say, these shield bugs do make nasty, nasty smells when you touch them. Now, when I say bug, remember that the bugs are actually an order of insects. So we tend to use bug as a generic term for any kind of creepy crawly that gets into our beds at night and we try and spray or empty a can of insecticide on. But bugs are actually a very specific kind of insect. Again, tens of thousands of species of them, but they're different from beetles and grasshoppers, and different from dragonflies, which in turn are different from the flies, and which in turn are different from the bees and the wasps. So that's a shield bug. Now there's another thing here, Jeandre, I've just spotted. I think this was the blighter that bit me. Look at him here, Jeandre. I don't know if you can see him down there. Got him there? A little fly. Let me move the grass out of the way. Can you see him? There we go. Oh no, I flicked him away. Sorry everybody. I think he was the blighter that got me on my leg. Very severe injury that I took from that fly, really. I mean, don't worry, I'll be okay. I know that you're desperately worried for my safety and grateful for the sacrifice that I am making, of course, for your edification and entertainment. But fear not, I'll be all right. Come on, Jeandre. I'm just kidding, everybody. I'm not really limping. Now, Doug in Connecticut, you've asked some very interesting questions about... I've just got to get Jeandre underneath here. He's carrying about 75 kilograms of equipment. Doug, I will answer your question. Oh, thank you, Jeandre. Now, not only have I been savaged by the insecta of the area, but you've beaten me with a stick, with a tree. Doug, if you want to know if there's any kind of minimum distance that we need to be able to see when we're in the bush to make it safe for us to walk, Doug, there's no real minimum. you do need, I mean, obviously the more open the area, the better it is. And the thicker the area, the slower you're going to walk, the quieter you're going to talk so that you can hear what's going on. Because animals do kind of, you can hear them moving through very thick bush. And it also depends on how many people that you have with you. So if I was guiding 8 people on a walking safari, I would be very reticent to walk through a very thick area. We'd walk through it very slowly and very carefully, stopping every few seconds to listen. But when there are 2 or 3 of us, we can walk a little bit more quickly. When there are 2 or 3, just watch out here, I'm really going to catch yourself. When there are 2 or 3 people who know what they're doing in the bush, then it's much better. Then you can move a bit quicker. So it just depends on the experience of people with one. Thanks, Doug, for your question. Let us continue on our way. I'm still heading towards where those owls were calling. It's just up here, and I'm hoping to be able to spot them, possibly in this large jackalberry tree here. Well, the jackalberry tree is one of our most iconic trees. They grow along these drainage line areas. Now, bear rodka, you're obviously a bit of an arachnophile as opposed to arachnophobe, and you want to know where the golden orbweb spiders are. Bear, if I may call you that, they are not out yet. They'll come probably around January when the main rains come, and they, for those of you who don't know, golden orbweb spiders, these incredible black and white and orange and yellow spiders, huge things like that, that will sort of hang themselves, string themselves around the place on these beautiful golden orb webs. And they terrify the life out of people who don't like spiders, because they look like they'd swallow your head. Colours. They're actually totally harmful. They can give you a bit of a bite. I've had them all over my body by mistake at various times. Never had any problem. But if you're an arachnophobe, you don't want one of them on you. They are the quintessential kind of alien-looking spiders. Right now, these owls were calling from somewhere here. They're very cryptically coloured, although they're very big. They're almost as big as the, I think it's called the grey owl in Europe. They're a huge owl, and they're almost the same size as that, but they're still very cryptically coloured. And they like the big trees next to the drainage lines here. And I've seen them around this area before. I think they were pretty much in the area where they were calling from, so we're going to look very carefully up into these great ebony jackalberry trees and hopefully find the pink eyelids of the giant eagle owl looking down on us. Just such a pleasure walking along through here during the course of the morning. It's fresh and beautiful, and just you can smell so nicely. So we're going to carry on walking down here, seeing if we can find those owls. We'll go across to Pieter, see what he's up to. I think he's still looking for that male leopard, and I'll keep you posted on the owls. Bye-bye.
Well, lots of things happening. Hayden had some wonderful elephant. He's over towards the west of where we are now. And we're just coming up on an open area that's, well, as you can see, opening up around us. That termite mound. Let's just check. We left the lion, obviously, as you know, when you join us, but that termite mound. We are now just basically circling back through the area where that leopard was last seen. He hasn't been found, and hoping that he'll pop out on one of the roads. We'll either get the tracks, obviously get the leopard would be great as well. Let's see here. Have a look at this little bird. I showed you the nest yesterday afternoon. We've looked at this a number of times over the last while. Just next to the road there. There it is. And it's got a little nest there. Now it's known as a Senegal lapwing. We used to call it a black-winged plover, was the older name for it. And they make these perfectly camouflaged nests. And the eggs itself also, if the parent isn't there to sit on them, then the eggs are very well camouflaged. You could be a predator and run right past it. Just to update, if you've just joined us, we started the morning with 2 cats, one leopard, 1 lion, but we could only see the lion. Last night we ended the drive, obviously, with beautiful leopard as well. We had mvula. I'm guessing it's mvula that was seen this morning. Just give you another look at this beautiful bird. And we also saw Karula last night with James. She was seen quite far west, actually, for her usual area, so it seems there might be some sort of territorial dynamic changes going on. We're going to leave this little bird. She's happy. She thinks we haven't been seen, or she hasn't been seen by us. Amazing. All the different animals have their ways of surviving and making do and ultimately procreating, getting babies, passing on the line. Morning, Ralph. That's a great question. You're asking what's the purpose of the mane on a male lion. So guys, this is a road we haven't driven yet this morning, so it's always good to check carefully for tracks. Ralph, the mane of a lion, there's probably a few other secondary reasons as well, but there's definitely some correlation to a healthy big mane and attractiveness, if you want, to the female. So firstly, big mane, a healthy looking lion, and obviously if he's taken over an area, then have the opportunity to mate. And then there would also be a secondary benefit, I'm sure, and maybe not even secondary, maybe primary as well, is that when lions are fighting, that provides them with a great safety collar, if you want, or safety net around their necks. It's very, very thick, the mane of a lion. I've been fortunate enough in the numerous occasions to put my fingers in there and feel it, and it's a very, very sort of, coarse would be the wrong word, but quite a dense mane, I think is probably a better explanation. And it's got a slight sort of frizziness to it, so the hair are also tangled into each other, so it's difficult to get through to the skin on the neck if you were another lion trying to, fight and bite you. So there would definitely be some barrier or safety protection benefit to it as well. Well, that lion we spent time with earlier was one of the Birmingham Boys. As I said, there's 5 of them, and I've only seen one since we've been back here, so perhaps you can see a few other Birmingham Boys. See you back in a bit.
Well, look what we have here. I haven't seen these boys for about probably 6 months, and they are very, very special to me. These cats, these are 2 of the Birmingham Boys, and we are about probably 10 feet away from them. The lion that Pieter was with this morning, I think, I haven't had a confirmation, but I think it was that male that we were going down through the drainage line after as well. He peeled around the other way, which is fantastic, and that's the beauty of having several vehicles. He picked up on that Birmingham Boy, and I think that's the one that has the sore eye that was over on Juma. I'm on Arathusa Game Reserve at the moment, a magnificent game reserve. And the guides here have been always fantastic in letting us know what's going on. Just came down the road, and sure enough, here are 2 of the Birmingham Boys. Now these 2 boys and their other 3 either brothers or associates in their coalition. It's normally brothers, not always, but normally brothers from the same litter. That may form a coalition, and the coalition is formed for strength and to maximise chances of takeovers, and these boys have definitely established themselves here. It's really great for me to see, because when I first met them excuse me please, when I first met them, it was actually Big Cat Week last year, and we were driving along the road, and VM was on camera, and we just saw a little tail flick, a fly, and pesky fly, a tail flicked up in the air, and VM said that just like that, the tail flick. VM said, "Stop, stop, stop!" And we drove over, and sure enough, it was the 5 of them. And that's when they were, flying under the radar. They didn't want to be really known. They weren't that strong. But now I'm looking at them, and their manes have developed massively, because when I first saw them a year ago, when they were about probably 4.5 years of age, their manes were they're on the go. They were starting to develop, but now they're starting to look really beautiful. And it's such a pleasure. Please just stand by, folks. I'm just going to talk to one of the channels on the radio. Yeah, Hayden, copy. Yeah, copy, Jamie, with the Ngala, and just myself on lock. Sorry, folks, just letting Jamie was just interested to know if I'd made it down here. Okay, so there's a lot of action. Jamie's just telling me, thanks, Jamie. Jamie's just telling me there's a lot of action going on around Arethusa and on the border of Arethusa and Jeandre at the moment, so they're following up on things as well. There's potentially leopard as well, which is fantastic. Oh, look at this. This is beautiful. I'm just taking a few photos, folks, because I haven't seen these guys for quite some time. So you might hear my camera clicking away. So I've got a really nice question from Vanessa. Hi Vanessa, great to have you with us. Vanessa's asking about the lion's mane and whether the colour has any significance in the colour of the mane. Vanessa, it is very, very similar to humans, as your question asked, whether it's just different colours, different coloration. Some males will have very dark manes, others will have very, very blonde manes. It'll be a genetic line or a genetic sort of trait that is in a particular region, and some will have darker manes than others, so I don't think there's any rhyme or reason to it, but that mane does play a very, very important role. But thank you, Vanessa, for your question. Hopefully that answered it for you. Variations right across Africa. I've seen very, very black mane lions in Namibia, and I've seen very, very light mane lions in Namibia as well, so they all differ. One particular individual here who out of the Birmingham Boys that I had an encounter with back in Big Cat Week last year, and he was a very, very blonde male lion. His mane was really pale in colour, and it may have darkened up now. It could be one of these guys. As I said, I haven't seen these guys for 6 months, but he had a very, very blonde mane, and I came around the corner, and there he was sitting on the road, and he walked right past me, so close to me. These are beautiful, these guys. I just love them. The Birmingham Boys, my favourite coalition of male lions here. But it's just an incredible thing. The mane sort of serves as a display of size and strength, but it also gives the animal a great sort of buffer, if you would like to say, or for want of a better word. When they do fight, if another male does grab them around that mane, it is some form of sort of a protection, I suppose. Even though they will penetrate that mane, but it just is a little bit more of armoury, I suppose, to protect their head and neck. It does make them very conspicuous as well, so unfortunately, a lot of people think that male lions don't hunt. They're extraordinary hunters. They have to be. These are all males, the 5 Birmingham Boys, so they have to be able to hunt. It's just that they are quite conspicuous with those males, so they are detected by prey much more easily. Hence, the females without the mane are a little bit more sleek and inconspicuous.
How are you?
Good, thanks, mate. Just might have heard another safari vehicle, another game vehicle turn up behind us. You might hear some people talking, so it's always important that we share these sightings. But Wilma has got a fantastic question on that we've just received. Welcome aboard, Wilma. Thanks for being with us this morning. And Wilma, your question is, you always notice that lions start feeding from the back end of the animal, and why is this? Well, Wilma, there's several reasons for it, and it's predominantly that area, or the softer regions, the under the belly, around between the legs on a prey animal. The skin is a lot softer and a lot easier to access. The first thing that they'll go for when they get in there, potentially there'll be a squabble, but it'll be those very, very nutritious internal organs, so the heart, liver, and all those sorts of things, what they'll be going for first. And once those are all finished, they'll start to go for the meat and then the tissue, and then they'll start to probably have a little rest and then carry on. And the pecking order is normally the most dominant animals are going for getting in there first, and the less dominant have to wait their turn. And you do hear a lot of squabbling and carry on. It can be quite a dangerous situation to be in the feeding frenzy of a lion kill, particularly when it's a big pride, or what they call a super pride, numbers up to 40 sometimes up in the East Africa. They don't really occur down in South Africa, but you get on Serengeti and Masai Mara, these massive super prides, which are incredibly fractious coalitions of males, gangs, and it actually starts sort of like gang warfare. Very, very tricky to be in those feeding frenzies. But down here, where we've got these male lions, there still will be a hierarchy between the 5 Birmingham boys. They normally get it together. There's this sort of split as well. There's 2 animals here, and Pieter had that other individual, and I don't know where the other 2 animals are at the moment to make up the 5 Birmingham boys. But thank you for your question, Wilma. And yes, they do start normally down in the softer regions of the animal, where they can penetrate the internal organs and get those nutritious organs first and foremost. Look at that. Just put his foot on his brother there. I just want to take a quick image of that, folks. Oh, they're magnificent, aren't they? So got a good question from Dorse in Pittsburgh. Welcome aboard to you, and thanks for joining us. Great to have you on board in this beautiful morning here on Sabi Sands, on Arathusa Game Reserve, where I am right now, with these two of the 5 of the coalition of Birmingham Boys, they're known as. And your question is whether the other individual that we've been seeing the last few days will be allowed back in. Absolutely, Dorse, he'll be allowed back in for sure. There might be a little bit of a greeting or whatever carry on when they meet, but there's no sort of expulsion from this, particularly if it is a brother, and they are 5 brothers. We're not sure. As I said before, it is normally a brother. Coalitions are normally brothers from the same or the same pride that have broken away when they got to an age where they were a threat. But he'll definitely be allowed back in, so there's no worries about that. Thank you very much for your question. Just wanted to take a few pictures. I think that's the blonde male over there, folks, the one that I was talking about. It's just got his head up now. I just want to take a few ID photos, so please excuse me clicking away. I think that is him. Well, I think these guys are going to be here for some time, so that's absolutely great that they're here and we've found them. Let's cross again to James. He's always got something interesting on that bushwalk, and we'll be right here if anything changes.
Look everyone, it's a woodland kingfisher. Now, not as many people say a woodlands kingfisher, singular woodland kingfisher, and they're displaying around here. This one standing with its partner, with its wings out, is sort of an astonishing display. And they stand with their wings out and they kind of pirouette around in the most balletic and ridiculous fashion. It's wonderful to see. And there is the one, the other one's flown off along there. So let's walk gently along the drainage line here, and we'll see if we can't spot the other one. They're like little F-16s. You can hear them calling all over the place. I've always imagined them flying along these drainage lines as they come back from equatorial Africa, like little fighter jets. What are you laughing at, Jeandre? There they go. Oh, here we go. Come right here, Jeandre. We'll just get them silhouetted again against the sky. Lots of them, and they'll love these dead trees because they've got holes in them, and these kingfishers like to live in holes. There's one, and there's the other. Can you see them both? It's wonderful. The sky is this wonderful golden grey colour. There are a whole lot more birds sitting on a dead tree over there, to the left-hand side. Some hornbills and some doves enjoying the same view. Oh, look, 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 look! Jeandre, there's a James and Jeandre, African harrier hawk, being absolutely attacked. Not easy being a cameraman out here, I tell you what, especially on foot. Alright, let's head back to Hayden with the flat cat as they've been described, and we'll carry on walking along the drainage line here.
Well, welcome back everyone. The boys haven't done much here. They've just set up as another vehicle drove past on their way out of Arathusa, and they're pretty chilled out at the moment. But I have to say, anything could happen, because those elephant that we were blocking the road for us, that we had to sit there for about 10 minutes, they are just over behind us, probably about 500 metres. So if they come down this way, there'll definitely be some action. The Birmingham Boys here will definitely make a quick exit themselves. Now, I'm taking a few images as I go here for the simple reason that I want to try and get IDs on these Birmingham Boys myself. I want to be able to get individual shots of them so I can just remember them. And I really urge you to take some screenshots. So many people do beautiful screenshots. Some of the screenshots I've seen of late are just incredible. I really don't know how you do it. You've got such great eyes out there, and all of you that are with us this morning always post fantastic screenshots on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram. It's just fantastic to spread the word how wonderful these animals are. And I really have to do a big shout out to the Juma junkies who have always been superb in posting things like that, and really great support, and WildEarth Safari fans page, just great images, and there's loads of others as well. All you people out there that take screenshots and post them, it's such a fantastic thing for us to look back, because a lot of the time we don't take images, we'll be talking or something like that, and then we get to go back and have a look through Facebook and Twitter and see all these beautiful moments that you've captured for us. So thank you to everyone for that. So we've got flat cats at the moment. So whilst we've got these flat cats, of course I'll come back to you if there's any movement or if that elephant interaction occurs. And the great thing this morning is Pieter's out. I think Pieter might be looking for leopard. I'm not really sure where he is at the moment, but I know James has got something leopard-like. Let's cross over to see him and see what he's up to.
I don't know about leopard-like, but it's got a leopardish name, and This particular reptile that I'm about to reveal is not a very clever one. His bottom is sticking out the back end of this sort of grassy patch here, and rather like a 2-year-old human being who thinks they can't be seen when they hide their faces. That's what this tortoise is doing. Let's have a look here. There she is, gently out. Isn't that lovely? See the scales on his front feet? You can possibly just see his snout sticking out there. He won't stick it out, I don't think, while I'm here. Certainly if there's any movement at all. Here it comes, here it comes, here it comes. Look at that, look at it. Look at his wizened old face. Doesn't he look like he's got some stories to tell? They don't speak very good English though, so unfortunately we're unable to have the stories that they have. This tortoise is probably, I don't know, probably 50 years old. Just spectacular. They can live for more than 100 years. The only thing that will eat one of these things when they get to this size would be something like a ground hornbill, and I've just heard them calling off to the south here. Ground hornbill looks like an enormous black turkey with a red kind of wattles, with red wattles on the neck, and they've got a chisel-like beak that they can smash into the top of these tortoises and they pull out the flesh. But other than that, not much will get hold of this tortoise. We did see those giant eagle owls, by the way, but as soon as they saw us coming, I mean from about 100 meters, 300 feet, they flew away. So let's put him back in there, and we'll just show you the back side of him and how he was attempting to hide. It's really rather pathetic attempt. This is how he was spotted. They're not hiding very effectively at all. Wonderful stuff. Now I think the time has come for a bit of breakfast. Do you like some breakfast, Jeandre? Right. This tree has got some vicious thorns on it. You can see, where's the best example? Let's have a look at these ones here, Jeandre. Look at those vicious thorns. They will go through a car tire, but they're one of the elephant's favorite foods. And in the absence of elephants, this zebrawood tree will grow into a sort of tree that you can plank and make into furniture or certainly musical instruments. Apparently it makes very nice clarinets. I'm not a clarinet player myself. Jeandre, are you a clarinet player? No. But because it's got so many thorns, you can often tell that the taste of the leaves will probably be quite nice because they don't necessarily invest in chemical protection. So I'm going to give this to Jeandre. There we go. Is that delicious, Jeandre? There we go. See? And a lot of the trees out here that don't have thorns on them will taste very chemically, very tanniny. These, very, very edible. Look, I'm not going to cook them up and eat them with my filet mignon, for example, but certainly not offensive. And so there are two strategies out here that animals employ. One, they'll have thorns, physical kind of hindrances to animals eating them, and the other is the chemical kind, and that makes the leaves really taste bad, and you can absolutely taste the difference as a human being. Let's wander along the drainage line. We're going to go across to Pieter, get an update from him, and I'll keep you posted as we find different kinds of breakfast to eat on the way. Bye-bye.
Think now. Well, welcome back this side, and we've been looking for all the big, a friend of mine used to always say the big hairies, but we're following the tracks of a leopard, couldn't find him. We decided to just go for a bit of a drive up towards Birdlife Dam. And this is one of my favorite antelopes. We don't see it all that often. We see it often, but we don't get to actually look at it all that often. They tend to be a little bit skittish sometimes. And this is a female steenbok. And she's heavily pregnant. She's going to have a little lamb. And when I say little lamb, I really do mean that. This is the smallest antelope we get in this part of sort of Africa where we are. You get a few other species of smaller antelope, but not here. And she's going to have a tiny little lamb quite soon. The male steenbok will be somewhere here as well. Steenbok are monogamous, so male and female form a permanent bond. Might well see the male. They have not very large territories, normally sort of 2 to 5, so let's say average of, yeah, it's an average of 5 hectares, a little bit smaller actually. That's about sort of 2 to 5 would be about 6 to 15 acres in terms of the area that they live and move around in. See, just push the tree over basically to get to the, that's the leaves at the top, but he was in this case trying to get to the roots. There you can see some of the roots sticking up a couple of days back. So we were all gearing up for a very hot day. I think the prediction was something like 40 degrees Celsius, which is 100 and, close to 110, somewhere in that region. Very, very hot is the simple way to put it. But now we've got some overcast conditions. It's nice and cool actually, very pleasant temperature. Who knows how it will stay for the rest of the day. And we are heading, where shall we go? I think we should go to the Hyena Den, look at that stunning sky. Love it in the mornings. Not that far from the Hyena Den, so you might as well stick with us, or unless something else happens, lions or tigers or bears, as Keats I think was said in his poem. Good weather for the den, so we'll go. Last night I believe it was Karula that was seen briefly with James, which was very exciting because we'd been looking for her and then we found Mvula. It was just, you know, all happening. And Karula is very far south and west of where she normally is. She is close to Triple M, which is, for those of you again that know the area well, between us and Aratuza, that sort of main road. That's where she was seen, and that's right sort of, I mean, she used to go traditionally that far, but Shadow has been using that area more and more. So it seems that Shadow is maybe moving down slightly, a little bit further south and west, and Karula is moving into this space, which would be interesting as well, because that, I mean, Tali, her other daughter who's to the east, can move in as well. If this is maybe your first safari with us, I apologize if that sounded like Greek to you. We're just talking about and hypothesizing around the different leopard areas, and we like to see. Well, that's our plan. We're going to continue along. As I said, we're going to go to the Hyena Den quickly. It's not far from here, 5 minutes or so. If there's activity, we'll get you back to us. In the meantime, James has got something interesting for you on the walk. Enjoy it.
Well, everybody, can you believe the colours out here? So often people think of Africa as being fairly green or sort of mono-coloured green with great blue skies. But if you look carefully, you can see the most tremendous colours. And these are 2 jewel beetles, yellow and black. Obviously, you can see that with a bit of orange on them. And astonishingly, these are 2 of the least colourful of their kind. But they're just very pretty. And you probably can't now see their eyes, I think, probably at the top. Got the eyes there, Jeandre? That's the super zoom. See the eyes there, and they're just resting quietly as it gets quite warm. And then they'll probably move off and do a bit of feeding. They'll probably eat on sap. Some of the jewel beetle adults don't eat at all. But they're youngsters, so I mean they're beetles, of course, so they start out life as a little worm, and some of them will remain as youngsters for up to 35 years before they attain that kind of colour. That's it. They're the longest living of any insect that we know of. Isn't that amazing? 35 years. Now come over here, everyone. Walk carefully. Don't stomp too much. And what you can see is the nest of Polyrhynchus. Now Polyrhynchus could be I don't know, a city-dwelling banker or a lawyer, but in fact it is the generic name of this kind of ant that makes a nest like that. You see that there, Jeandre? That's the entrance to the subterranean nest of the Polyrhynchus ant. And if we zoom out again, I'll try and show you the actual ant itself. They're very clever at hiding. Here's one here on the air that's going up the branch. You got him there. He's here where my stick is. My stick is pointing to him. There he is. Got him there? Sorry, this is very difficult, everybody. This is not easy to try and film one of these things. They move very quickly. There we go. That is the Polyrhynchus ant. And while I'm not going to do this for you now, they actually taste really nice. They, if you can eat the abdomen, and it tastes like a delicious lemon drop. They've got sort of probably ascorbic acid of some kind in them as a defense, and it does taste really nice. So Jeandre, you can see there, is a master of his craft, filming the Polyrhynchus ant as they fossick about on this spike-thorn bush. And I like this bush because it has a wonderful Latin name. Its Latin name is Gymnosporia buxifolia. And if you ever need to warm your mouth up in the morning and it's cold and you're about to make a speech, say Gymnosporia buxifolia 47 times, and you will be warm and ready to speak. Right, on we go. We haven't moved, actually, whoops, very far from where we had the kingfishers a little bit earlier, so we're going to try and put a bit of distance on us. And I can just see that African harrier hawk flying gently. He's probably going to pop out here. There he goes. No, sorry, I really did put Jeandre under the bus there. Anyway, the African harrier hawk was flying through there and probably looking for different kinds of nests to rob. Oh, sorry, before we move on from here, look at this beautiful hibiscus flower. Now, Marianne in Texas, while we look at this gorgeous hibiscus flower as it comes into full bloom, you want to know, well, this is actually quite an interesting hibiscus. I'll tell you about it now. Marianne, you want to know, malaria is carried by the mosquitoes, and that our ticks carry your tick-borne disease. Certainly we get tick bite fever from the ticks here. Nothing like as bad as some of the Lyme's disease that you do get in the US. Excuse me. And you want to know if there's anything else that does... let's go, sorry, Marianne, I'll get back to your question now. The only thing you've got to watch out for fly-wise is the tsetse fly. Let's head across to Pieter. He's got something very...
I haven't actually been here for a few days. I was yesterday, I was here briefly. Slippery slope. And they weren't here, and I haven't been here too many other times the last few days, but this little guy is just absolutely adorable. I mean, it's not just a sort of a beautiful little animal, but just in the stage of its life now as well. It's at that stage where it's starting to explore. I know yesterday on drive it actually came down the termite mound all the way for the first time, and this will start going on more and more now. And the same with, if you compare that to human babies, you know, at first they don't walk so well, and then when they can walk, they start to walk around a little bit, and then once they're mobile, they start getting very sort of curious about their surroundings. And this is exactly where this young lady is at now. I keep saying him, but it's more just a sort of manner of speaking. It would most likely be a female cub. Beautiful, devoted mother. Probably her first litter, just looking at her condition. Well, almost certainly her first litter. And a lot of patience. She's been a great mum, what we could see. Being very happy to provide herself as the playground and the jungle gym for young Hyena to play on and get those muscles working and coordination getting better. And this is going to be a lovely journey over the next couple of weeks and months, seeing this youngster grow up. Still falling around a lot. Keep in mind, this termite mound is quite a big termite mound, and the slopes would be, I would put it probably at about 35 degrees angle or so. So if you're still a young animal with the coordination still being in the developing stage, you could easily lose your footing and tumble and roll down quite often, as we've seen a few times. I'm going to wait a little bit. I think the young one will come back out again. That's the main entrance there, just if you sort of follow her nose down in front of her. That area is where they go into the den, and inside this den will be quite often multiple chambers. You'll also be able to go through the den and come out at another entrance. There's like a back entrance. Oh, there's one of his favorite things to hunt. Mum's ear. wants to explore. You can see it's looking at us. There it's sniffing an ant. I'm just taking, as you can hear, some pictures here. This is a beautiful, it really is a beautiful setting for taking images. I mean, this has been one of the sort of factors of having such a good time here. Is obviously, I mean, I don't have to say this, but super cute baby animal, you know, healthy, beautiful mum, lovely interaction and playing, but also that sensitivity between them. That's all been part of it. But visually, this is just so striking because they're higher up, so they're sitting at eye level with us. So the aspect from which you see them is beautiful. Also from a photographic point of view, I've taken some magic pictures here, and I know many of you have grabbed some beautiful screenshots as well. Effectively taking your own pictures on drive, which is actually one of the aspects of this live safari experience that I'm still very keen to explore and play with down the line, is the photographic aspect. Many people that are wildlife enthusiasts like yourself, like me, like to capture moments and take pictures and take images. So it's been brilliant. And also, just while we're doing that, I wouldn't mind giving a big thank you to so many of you for grabbing beautiful screenshots and videos and highlights, and you've been posting them on our pages, personal pages, on my page. Thank you so much for all those beautiful stills images that you guys are putting up there, as well as on the WildEarth pages and the different pages for the leopard and so on. It really is fantastic to have such an evolved or involved community is the one word, I guess. Friends really is what I think of most of you as. And I don't mean that in a funny way. If I don't think of you as a friend, it's just because I haven't known you long enough. Oh, look at that. Yeah, she's in such good condition, this female. There's something very comical about her. I'm talking about the young one now. Lovely bird sounds around us here as well. It's actually a very peaceful scene, this. You have this very easygoing, very tender, sensitive interaction between mum and youngster. Oh, exploration time. I'd say it's another week or two at the most before this youngster starts to come and have a closer look at the vehicle here, the landy that we're in. But yeah, just sitting with these two animals, mother and daughter, and the tenderness between them. Also the surroundings, as I said earlier this morning, it is quite overcast, still lovely temperatures, and you can see all the different birds calling. A rattling sesticula, you can hear a grey lory in the distance. Burchell's kukkel, often called the rain birds, they calling. Way in the distance, red-chested cuckoo, a pitmevrouw in Afrikaans. Hyenas have got compared to many other predators, a long, sort of closely involved period of time that they raise the youngster. What I mean with that is, with lions, for instance, after not that long, 3-4 months even, the cubs are suckling less and playing more with the other cubs. Obviously, they're very social animals, but with hyena, up to 2 years that the mother will, that the cub will suckle from the mum. I think the cub's stuck at the moment. Mum's taking a rest over the back legs. It is beautiful to see this, and also that they will stay very close. Hello, Joel. You're just wondering, at what age do hyena cubs start to eat meat? Well, even this young one will already start chewing on things. Hyenas are actually born with teeth, which is not typical if you compare again to other big predators. But those teeth are mostly used for competing with the other cub while it's being born, often even killing the other cub, but that's a whole different discussion. In terms of them eating meat, they will start quite young. Even at this age now, if some meat was brought back to the den, or bones or things like that, the youngster would start chewing on it. But they will still be reliant on mother's milk for well over a year in the case of hyena. Oh, look at the... You can see there, look at mum's lip. Little snarl there, you can see. The youngster's now chewing into her ear. And very sharp teeth, very, very sharp, needle-sharp teeth, in fact. And I'm sure could hurt almost like a sting sometimes. We're going to stay here, watch some more of this, get you back in a minute. But quickly, James has got something that might be as sharp or perhaps sharper than the teeth of this little hyena.
Every little dung pile, every tree, every piece of fallen wood is an ecosystem on its own. And look at this incredible thing that we have inside here. There's a scorpion. In Latin, it's called a Pisticanthus asper, or a bark scorpion. And there are termites crawling all over it, which seem to be being left unmolested. But if you look up here, Jeandre, there was something that wasn't left unmolested at all, and this was a cricket. You can see here the leg of the cricket that was devoured. Jeandre is just going to come around and show us here. Cricket that was devoured by the scorpion sometime during the night. And what they do is they've got these very specialized hairs on the front of their pedipalps. The pedipalps are the basically the pincers, if you like, and the hairs are called trichobothria, and I don't know why they're called that. It's just quite a nice word, trichobothria. And the trichobothria are tremendously sensitive. They can sense the slightest sort of gentlest air movements, and that's how they hunt at night, because they're largely blind, especially when they're hunting under the bark like this. So the scorpion will hunt with this, sensing different air movements from its prey, and prey in this case was a very large cricket. I've just seen another cricket actually in here. Jeandre, if you come through here, you'll have a look. There is another little cricket, and if it doesn't watch out, it's going to be eaten fairly soon. Have you got it there, Jeandre? There. Very well hidden cricket just underneath my dung bespattered stick. Right. Okay, let's head back to the hyena cub. I believe it's quite hungry, having a bit of a suckle. We'll carry on moving, see what else we can find along this drainage line. See you just now.
Well, welcome back at the hyena den. And if you think it was nice and peaceful earlier, it's even more so now. Presume you got to see that scorpion with James. It's always interesting to see one of those animals that people are fascinated by, especially when they come on Africa or come to Africa on a safari. They're always worried about scorpions. They don't typically bite people, luckily. We're too big for them to eat. But you have to be careful. It does certainly, you know when you've been stung, put it that way. Super peaceful feeling here. They were playing around a little bit. I'm sure there'll be more of it shortly. But for now, the cub has gone in for some suckling time, feeding time. Normally followed again by some more playing time. And I love that. She does that all the time. You see how she's putting her front paw over the cub, almost to pull it in closer to her. Oh. You can see that there's a real sense of Tenderness is the word that comes to mind all the time for me this morning. Closeness. Love. Well, I'm going to say a quick extra good morning because it is a lovely morning. And Lishan, hello. Awesome to have you. As always, on Drive, my wife, for those of you that don't know, has been part of this for a long time for me personally and for all of us as well. So fantastic to have you on Drive. And I must say, I'm missing the kids a lot this morning looking at this. Our little son just started walking about 2 weeks ago, and I believe he's quite the sort of little operator. There's a spider web at home at the moment. So missing you guys a lot, especially looking at this little hyena, which I know you've enjoyed. Let's look at that. In fact, since we're looking at young animals, I can get away with going on about my family a little bit. But one of the things that Lishan has told me numerous times over the last week or two is that our son Ragnar, who's just over a year old now, he gets very excited when he hears my voice on the computer or on the television at home. And my daughter also, maybe to a lesser extent, we're very close. Sydney loves wildlife, loves animals, but she loves little animals. She loves things like that scorpion James was just looking at. And she often gets very excited with those things to see. I'm sure she would have liked the scorpion. I know the other day with Scott and the chameleon, she loved that as well. So good to know that kids around the world, and I can say that from very personal experience, are loving this as well. So nice to have you guys with us. And I mean that all of you young people, anyone younger than 90, we need young people on the vehicle. We need old people as well, everyone older than 90. Great to have you with us as well. We need the experience on the vehicle. And this, unfortunately, it's a little bit overcast, but you can see the yellow color on it. Masked weaver. Very famous birds, or well-known birds in terms of African stories and bird culture, or birding sort of things people hope to see. Oh, okay, that nest has got a female inside. That's very exciting. The male has built the nest. He uses that bright green background of the fresh nest to display his bright yellow colors against. There you can see this nest is already probably maybe 2 days old, and the female just flew in there with a little bit of, there's the female on it now, and she brought some soft grass I could see in the beak, so she's busy lining the inside of the nest. So this one has worked out. The nest worked, male attracted a female, she's going to nest there, and once that is settled in and she's moved in, we'll start to build another nest again. In fact, it's just starting there. So guys, the hyena's just sleeping at the moment. We'll get back to them if they move. But that twig that's to the left of that nest, we'll see when he comes back. But he's busy cleaning the leaves off that branch to make the thorns more prominent, and then he'll build a third nest. All going well. Normally they like to build these nests above waterholes because they're less likely to be disturbed. But as you can see, at the base of the tree, we have super duper cute baby hyena and mum, and they're going to be here pretty much all the time. So for the weaver, that's a very good start. Even snakes aren't likely to go up that tree with hyena so close, but certainly things like mongoose, some of the smaller cat species, things that would have been a threat to those nests potentially, they're not going to be a bother to this nest because she's got hyena at the bottom. Well, they're not doing too much, in fact, having a sleep, and we're going to go over to Hayden for a bit. If anything changes or if she sees everything when she looks up like that, we'll get you back here.
Well, there hasn't been a great deal of action here, folks. We had a bit of a rollover. The individual closest to us rolled over and put his feet on his potential brother. I'm not sure, we're still not sure, but if it is his brother, they're fantastic. They just crashed out right near us, about 10 feet away from us, 2-3 meters maybe at the most, and they are doing what lions do best at this time of the day, and that's sleep. About 20 hours a day they sleep. But an interesting thing is, you know, lions will, as all the predators are, opportunists. If something was to walk onto them, they would definitely take that opportunity and potentially potentially utilize that situation to gather some food and gorge themselves and then sleep some more. Their bellies aren't super full, but they definitely look like they've had a feed either yesterday or I don't think last night. It's just a little bit too low. So I just wanted to give you a quick look. Debs is going to have a zoom in on that back foot for you, and just have a look there. You can see a little bit of definition there. It's much easier to see on the front foot if he puts that paw up on the other side. But just whilst we're doing that, if Debs will just swing around, I just want to show you something here on the iPad, and it's a really good little thing to have. It's just silhouettes of the two different prints. This is a leopard track on the left here and a lion track on the right. Okay, very good to distinguish the difference between both. Now, if you come in a little bit closer, Tebs, for me, I'll just show all our wonderful people that are with us the difference here. There's a very distinct sort of wave or W. Camel's humps, I always think, along the bottom there. And if you have a look at this along the lines one, it's pretty much flat along the bottom there. The front four pads as well are, the pads or the pads of the paw print are actually much more oval shaped than they are on the leopard. The leopard's a little bit more circular, so that's another giveaway. And the distance between this pad and the four pads there is also a little bit greater. So that's a really good way to see when you're looking at line tracks. They are considerably larger than leopard tracks, but sometimes if you haven't seen a leopard track, you don't really know what to compare it to. So it's a really great thing to have these silhouettes sometimes on apps or in your books. I carry the iPad with me and my phone. I've got books as well, but it's really important to take those ID books out with you, and there's loads and loads of different apps you can get. Another really great thing is if you want to get your children into it, which I think is an incredibly important thing, my little quest is Operation Wild Child. If you can try and do a wild thing every day for a month with your kids, you're on a winner there, because they'll start to get their connection with nature. But you know what I always say, if you've got a problem with kids being connected or too connected with their technology, take the technology outside. Get some apps on it for them. They can ID plants or trees or birds or insects or reptiles or mammals. It doesn't really matter what it is, as long as there's some form of fun factor for them that connects their world with this world. You've got to remember that we are not going to change their world. All we've got to do is try and be smart about it and connect our kids with the natural world using their technologies. So it's a great thing. There's loads of apps that are out there. Lots of them are for free as well. You can see me waving this around too. There's a great little story behind this. The lucky porcupine quill came out, and this has brought us quite a lot of luck, this thing. I gave it a bit of a rub yesterday for the simple reason that I was hoping that we would, it's really and give it a and we see luck. So the quill is back, the lucky porcupine quill, and we're sitting with some flat cats at the moment. If we just go back and have a look at them now, you can see the muscularity down the back, and we'll just sort of look at the physiology. I've got pretty scrappy comms down here, communication with final control. Unfortunately, I'm sitting in a little low patch and I can hear questions come through to me, so please excuse me, folks, if I do pronounce the name wrong. I think it's Bryce. And Bryce, you want to know how many hours a day lions spend sleeping? Well, it depends, but majority of the time it's probably about 20 hours a day. Not always, but it's about sort of 18 to 20 hours a day. It really does depend on the lions and how hungry they are. When prey is plentiful, they will spend more time sleeping, because they just gorge themselves and digest, and they'll do that to conserve energy out of that 24-hour period. And they normally become active in sort of late afternoon. But as I said before, not always. Anything that presents themselves to the lions in an opportunity, they will take it up. They'll definitely take it up. Elephants are just over to our, sort of about 200 metres to our left here, and we've heard them sort of feeding through there. They're the elephants that we came past as we were arriving at this lion sighting. But the lions don't seem too worried about that at the moment. They're well off, and that we can hear the cracking of branches in the bush. But Bryce, really it's about sort of 18 to 20 hours a day of resting, and that will all depend on food availability. Now when there's not as much food availability, they'll probably spend more time hunting and trying to find food, and that again will depend on the heat of the day. If it's not a very hot day, you'll find lions more active, as you will find with leopard, and we've seen that over the past days. It is definitely all about the heat and conserving their energy. Digesting massive amounts of protein takes a lot of energy, and they will just probably be here until this afternoon. So I'm sure Pieter and James will come out this afternoon and come down and see what these guys are up to. I would love it to hear that the other brother or the other member of the coalition comes and joins them. It would be brilliant, but we'll just wait and see on that. So just looking at this physiology. Thanks, Bryce, for your question. Great to have you on board, by the way, mate. Really appreciate you joining us and being with us on Safari Live. And remember, folks, if you want to interact with us and ask us a question, hashtag Safari Live, and you can send us an email at questions@wildearth.tv, and we'll answer as many of them as we possibly can. So if we're lying here looking, I'll just get Tibbs to come down to that. There's a really great muscular area at the lower back of that lion with his back to us there. You can see that huge muscle there. If we just go up along the body, you'll see that beautiful muscularity on the lion's body. And these boys are coming into their sort of prime. They're probably about 5, just over 5, 6 years old, maybe 5.5 years old now. And they'll be moving into their really peak physical state in the sort of coming year or so. And they get up to weights that are quite incredible to be around. Now, the average weights are really all about sort of around 190 kilograms, which, if I can do my maths here, let's go for about 560, 570 pounds. I'm having a rough estimate on for a male. But there's a record, I think there's a record, an old record in Namibia. I'm not sure whether that's been broken at this point, but I think he weighed, about 260 kilograms or something like that. Goodness me, which is, wow, 260, probably well up around over 600 pounds, well over 600 pounds. So extraordinary size for those animals. Lovely question from Carolyn in Chicago. Welcome aboard, Carolyn. I love your place where you live, Chicago. It's a wonderful city, and I have been there many times. Oh, look at this. How beautiful. Oh, my goodness. I'll just let you enjoy those pictures for a second, Caroline. I'll definitely come to your question. Lovely interaction there. And he's just sat up. He just sort of seemed to get a whiff of something, Caroline. I promise I'm coming to your question. And your question actually could, wow, here we go, a little bit of action. Maybe it's getting too hot for him just there. He may be moving into a shadier spot, or he may be going off to He's just finding a shadier spot. So Caroline, your question, as I said, welcome aboard, great to have you with us, is if the other Birmingham boy, the other member of the coalition arrives or comes back, will the greeting be civil or will it be a little bit fractious? Well, I'm pretty guaranteed that it would be civil. My guess is that they are brothers. I'm still unsure, and we don't have accounts of whether these are all related males. It usually is adolescents that have been pushed out of the pushed out of the pride at a certain age when they've become a little bit difficult for the other male or slash males to handle. And they would have left a little bit like teenagers leaving home, really. And I'm pretty sure, Carolyn, that the meeting would be civil. I would love it to happen while we were here. You never know what's around the next corner, I always say. And he was heading this direction, and it would be just beautiful to see them come together. I was really concerned about that other male the other day that Pieter was with. He was looking very, very unwell, and it wasn't the eye that I was concerned about. There was a puncture wound he had above his eye, and that looked quite swollen and quite sore, to the point where every time he roared, he'd shake his head. When he did do those roars the first time, he'd shake his head after every roar, which I'm gathering just on an interpretation of that behaviour was that it was hurting him. That massive roar would be sending quite serious vibrations through and maybe hurting or aggravating that wound. But the other day when he did roar with Pieter, when Pieter's perseverance and patience was so fantastic, and he got that roar right at the end of the show, it was just, he didn't shake his head. So I'm hoping that wound is healing. They have an incredible ability to bounce back, but obviously some individuals will get an infection, and unfortunately those wounds can be fatal. But I really do hope he's okay, and they're such an incredible, they're a marauding, powerful gang, these guys, and I love them to bits. I had this first encounter, as I said, way back in Big Cat Week last year. Caroline, thanks so much for your question. So we've got a question from Sarah in Ohio. Thank you, Sarah. Welcome aboard. Great to have you with us. And you're asking me a personal question of what's the biggest coalition I've ever seen. In Tanzania, when I was living in Zanzibar many years ago, working for Nat Geo, I was based up there, and it was a great privilege to be in East Africa and based in a beautiful place like Zanzibar. And I went into the Serengeti on a trip to do a little sort of bit of filming. I was filming some just sort of short stories, 5 minutes long, all over the place, all over East Africa, Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya, Burundi, Rwanda and Burundi. And I went into the Serengeti and we came across a coalition of 6. So that was the biggest I've seen. They don't normally get a lot bigger than sort of 5 to 6. There's definitely been reports of larger ones, but it becomes so unstable, or so it becomes just too it's too fractious. There's too much tension, and it really does become a problem. So the biggest one I've seen, it was in Tanzania, and it was 6 males. They had a pride of another 15 females with them, so it was quite extraordinary, and that was the biggest I've ever seen. Thank you so much for your question. Hey Big Man, how are you, mate? Great to see you. So we just had another safari vehicle turn up, and always great to share the sightings and let all the guests see these beautiful creatures. Flat cats at the moment, but still incredible to be around, particularly when you're only about 10 feet away from them.
Got a lovely question from Joel in New York. Joel, welcome aboard. Fantastic to have you with us. And wow, what a city you live in. One of my favourite cities in the world, and I know it's Pieter's as well. Just a great place. Your question, Joel, is whether a lion / lions would take down a buffalo, or would they be fearful of getting injured by a buffalo's massive defence mechanism, and that is our defence, their armoury of those horns, those massive horns that they use. So they use so well to protect themselves from big predators. Well, I would say that two things. Whenever they do hunt buffalo, they're very wary. It's a skilled hunter that can take down a buffalo, particularly a big bull. They normally choose individuals that aren't as big as the bulls, but I've seen up in Tanzania again, strangely enough, I saw a hunt which was probably the first hunt that I've ever seen on an adult male buffalo. It was an incredibly dangerous thing for them to do, but one of the things that you bring in the heavyweights, the males are a huge force in that. If they do have a coalition of males, they become extraordinary hunters at hunting buffalo and bigger prey. Because of their sheer weight, the females will either corner the buffalo or single it out. The males will also come in. It's not necessarily true that it's just the females that do the hunting. Males play a huge role in it as well. It just depends on the situation, the numbers, what the prey availability is as well. And often you'll see females hunting by themselves too. There's no sort of textbook answer to whether they're strategic hunters altogether. There's lots of singular hunting that happens, and research has shown that. But going back to your question, Joel, they're very wary when they hunt buffalo, but skilled buffalo hunters, it is definitely at the top of the menu for lions. It's such a beautiful big feed for a lion pride or a coalition. So they will be skillful about it. They normally pick individuals that they can manage, but if push comes to shove, they would even take down a young giraffe. So that's definitely up on the menu as well. I'm going to cross to Pieter now. Sorry to talk about giraffe on the menu, but he actually does have something to show you along those lines. All right, we'll see you just now.
Well, welcome back to site. I'm sure you've had a great time with Hayden on drive. He's loving being out there in the Land Rover again, and also James on the walk. But we're sitting with this giraffe, and I must say, even though he's a beautiful male, he's in great condition. Let's have a close look at his face quickly, because he is a good-looking guy. But we're not going to stay here too long. We're not far from where Brent and them are busy tracking. And we are tracking and following up on that leopard still from this morning. So I'm just listening to the radio. They had 1 or 2 alarm calls, but I think Brent's saying to the guys it might have been from their movements. Giraffe would actually be a good partner in finding anything as well. They've got incredibly good eyesight. And a big bull like this would be about, probably over 4 meters, probably close to 4.5 meters tall. That is about 13, 14 feet. Remember a while back on drive, we spoke about the biggest giraffe ever, and I think the tallest giraffe measured. Actually, if I may ask you a favor, if someone can just quickly Google that for us and see what you come back with. But I remember something like it was 7 meters. It was 21 or 22 feet, tallest giraffe ever. But this guy would put it about 4.5, maybe at the most 5 meters, which would be about, let's say 13 to 16, 17 feet, which is the norm. I mean, keep in mind for elephant, a big elephant bull like with the one we saw on drive yesterday with James, that would be 6, maybe 7 tons would be a big elephant. The biggest elephant weighed was well over 10 tons. I think it was something like 13 tons, 26,000 pounds or something like that. So just like with people, you do get the really tall ones, the really big ones. And then you get many of us that are the really lucky ones to be able to go on safari. Having good breakfast there. He's eating some leaves from one of the Combretum species called one of the few Latin names I actually remember from my very, very early guiding days of Combretum apiculatum, which is the red bush willow. So let's leave this guy a little bit. I want to go closer to where we have been looking for and tracking, and hopefully we'll find a leopard this morning still. This is the road going towards Boitella Lodge, and say hello to this guy quickly. He's got a great smile usually. Isaac, how are you in for? Yeah. All good? Yeah. From Mawini? Okay, but you must probably Ingwe somewhere. He was here earlier. Yeah. Sharp. It's Isaac. I've known Isaac for... I've known Isaac for 14 years, something like that. Great guy. And James got something which is always special to see, if I understood it correctly, and something you don't very often see in the daytime or on foot. So enjoy it. We're going to keep looking for the leopard.
Now just listen, everybody. Around here, there are alarm calls. There is a grey go-away bird going, wah, wah. There are starlings, or there were starlings going, drongos going ballistic. And in the tree there, look at that enormous bird. That's the owl that we've been following the whole morning. The giant eagle owl. You can hear the dwarf mongoose are also alarm calling underneath him, going ticka-ticka-tee, ticka-ticka-tee, ticka-ticka-tee. Isn't that amazing? And he's flown all the way up this kind of drainage line that we've been following, and we followed the alarm calls the whole way. The drongos were going, the starlings were going, the babblers, and then the hornbills. And now he's sat up in that huge knobthorn tree where he thinks we can't see him, but we can. Now we're going to try and sneak a little bit closer and see if we can't get a better look. Come, Jeandre, let us creep like leopards. So he's been flying away from us. Every time we've got close, he's flown away. This is the first time we've actually seen him properly. So we'll try and get a little bit closer. He's a huge owl. I mean, he stands at about, probably 2.5 feet. Beautiful little pink eyelids. We'll just creep very, very slowly forward. He might fly. And all the while, I'm sure you can hear as we get closer, the alarm calls. Jeandre, stop making so much noise, man. Jeandre, of course, is blessed with feet the size of, well, clown's feet, I suppose. There, you can see him moving now. Did you see the movement? We'll just stop here for a second. Seems to be pretty relaxed, and we'll try a little bit closer. This is a very special owl. To be seeing this on foot is just fantastic. We do sometimes see them in the vehicles, but they're not common at all. There's another little owl calling off to the right-hand side of your screen. A pearl-spotted owl. A tiny little thing. The smallest owl that we get here. I think he's going to fly soon. We're going to try and break cover out of the cover of this tree and see what he does. This is what's so great about being on foot. To try and understand how it must be if you're a predator, to walk carefully so that animals don't see you or perceive you as a threat. But we really are not used to that from our city lives. We're not used to moving quietly like this, watching every footfall, smelling every smell, listening to every sound. They're twice as difficult for a 4-year-old. There he goes. There he goes. Isn't that wonderful? Oh, that's just fantastic. So it would be completely silent flight. They've got they don't have the same kind of barbs on the feather filaments that many other birds do, and so the air passes straight through the filaments of their feathers, so they're not nearly as stronger flyers as, say, some of the eagles are, and that means that at night time, when their prey are listening out, the little rodents that run around in the bush, they can't hear when the owl's coming. Of course, you've all heard birds taking off and that sound that they make. Owls don't make that sound. It's a very silent flight, so much slower, much more deliberate, much more difficult. You saw that heavy bird struggling to get height because the air going straight through the wings, but just means that they can move totally silently at night. Is the most fantastic thing. Right, let's carry on moving. It's starting to get quite hot now as we head towards, well, it's just after 7 o'clock in the morning, which is not very early, at least not very late, and already the heat, I think, is probably building to around 25 degrees Celsius, which is about 70, around about 75-ish in Fahrenheit, so quite hot. And I think it's going up to about 102 degrees Fahrenheit today, so very warm indeed. So we're heading up now towards an area where we had Kunuma on a kill a few days ago. We didn't find his tracks going out of the reserve, so where he went I really couldn't tell you. But we've just been spending a bit of time around here trying to see if we can't find some tracks. Perhaps he's made another kill and just dangled it in a tree, which would be wonderful. And Kunuma, for those of you who don't know, is a 3-year-old who is about to have his 3rd birthday, and he's the son of the leopard that Pieter was looking for earlier today, Mvula, he of the rain, as Mvula is called. Right, let's go this way. Thank you, Damon and Canvas, for your comment. You're quoting Noel Coward there. Only, what is it? How does the quote go? Only mad dogs and Englishmen go out in the midday sun. Well, yes, in this particular case, that is exactly what happens. And you want to know what we do with tortoises when they get hot. We don't do anything with tortoises. The tortoises are amazingly adapted to surviving in very dry conditions. Obviously, they're not designed to migrate very far, and so they have to retain water. They hold water within them. And so what we don't do when it's hot and there's no water around is pick them up, because one of their defensive strategies, and this is the same for many animals out here, both invertebrates and vertebrates, is that they will void their bowels. They basically open their cloacas and they will void their bowels, urinate and defecate immediately in order to dissuade the predator. And what that does is that it makes them lose water, and so they can dehydrate quite fast if it's very hot. So that's what we do with the tortoises. Thank you for that, David. And yes, Lynn, absolutely. If there was a tortoise on its back, I mean, I know we talk about not or trying not to have any effect on the bush out here. We talk about not interfering at all. But if I found a tortoise lying on its back and it was safe to turn it over, I absolutely would. There's no ways that I would just leave it to its fate lying on its back. That would be too much for me to bear, I'm afraid. Just turning into the most gorgeous morning. We're up on a ridge crest here, and I'm sure, there's a Nyala. Look, Jeandre. There's a Nyala bull looking at us through the bush there. Just lovely. You can probably even feel the atmosphere of the heat. 2 Nyala bulls with some oxpeckers sitting on them, eating away at the ticks. It's lovely to see them there, and they're totally relaxed around us. We've seen a couple of Nyala cows in the thick bush, and they haven't been upset about seeing us at all. Now, before I hand you back to those flat cats, as it were, I can hear a woodpecker in this tree. Let's see if we can find him quickly, then I'll hand you back to Hayden and the lions. Jeandre, he's up in this marula tree here. I can just hear the tap, tap, tapping. We'll see if we can find him. We'll spend a minute or so doing it, and I'll send you back to those big cats for Big Cat Week. So there are lots and lots of sort of hollow branches and things on this tree. And I'm sure the woodpecker is frolicking about in there, trying to find insects, various grubs and insect larvae, beetle larvae. But I don't see him. Well, we'll keep looking for him. And in the meantime, let's go back across to Hayden and his lions. We'll look for the woodpecker and whatever else we can find here on foot. It's just so great to be on foot. See you just now.
Now, this beautiful boy just sat up. I think he's been getting hassled a bit by the flies, and he just sat up for a little bit. He may have heard something, but I think it was the flies. Big yawn, and he'll probably just go back down again. There hasn't been a lot of movement here, but they are definitely here for the day. The temperature is rising rapidly. We're starting to get very, very steamy temperature now. The sun has broken through the cloud, and one of the individuals has moved off to a shadier area under a tree. And this boy here is just grooming himself a little bit. That mane will still get a bit bigger than that. By the time he's about 6 or 7, it'll probably be in all its glory. You see the same similar traits if you've got cats at home, folks. You see similar traits with these massive, wild, big cats that you might see in your own domestic cat, licking themselves to clean themselves. Very particular about how they look after themselves. But these guys do have a few battle scars on their faces, probably in clashes that they've had with other individuals, and basically taking over this area. These Birmingham boys are here to stay. They pushed out the Matimba males, and they're definitely here to stay. The sun is penetrating now. It's broken right through. We're sitting in full sun at the moment, and I'm telling you, well, I can't even guess the temperature. I might be able to get the temperatures as the morning progresses for you. But just to give you a little bit of an essence of where we are, we're on just sitting on the road. We haven't even had to go off-road. The lines are right close to the road. Look at that beautiful tongue. Super. Grooming and cleaning. A rough tongue, exactly like your cat's tongue if you own a cat. Very, very rough and abrasive. Perfect for getting rid of any parasites or just a general clean. So yeah, we've got beautiful birds, Cape turtle dove, and loads of other different birds. Might be a little bit tricky to pick up on the microphone. You definitely hear Cape turtle dove. You can hear Franklin off in the distance as well. We've got a question from Damon about whether the Birmingham boys are all brothers or are they just from the same pride. Damon, lovely to have you on board, mate, and thank you very much for joining us this morning. It's very, very hard to say because I have to go back and try and get that information from the first place that these boys were originated and what pride they're from. It goes back so far that it might be related males. It normally is related males from the same litter. One can't really guarantee that. The numbers are around sort of two to three cubs normally survive. There's so many external contributing factors on that as well, but it's normally sort of Sorry, it's just a vehicle starting up there, guys. I'll just wait until he moves away. So I can't really give you an exact answer other than it's more than likely they are related males from the same pride, normally pushed out of the pride during their adolescence. So thank you for your question, Damon, and we're pretty sure that they are related males from the same pride. A few of them might be brothers from the same litter, because there is a couple that are just a little bit younger, but that's not to say that a female in the same pride had a litter very, very similarly aged, and they could be cousins. 3 could be brothers and 2 could be cousins of theirs. It really just does depend, but we're really sure, pretty 95% certain that they are from the same pride. Thanks for your question. So grooming away. At the moment, he may reposition himself as well. He's got his back to us. I'm hesitant to move our vehicle just because it's such a serene environment at the moment. I don't really want to disturb him. They've been very, very tolerant of letting us sit here with them. So I think we just stay put and let him dictate the moves. A lovely question from Wilma. Welcome aboard, Wilma. Your question is, does a lion's mane go grey as they get older? Well, unlike my good self, they don't. I've gone definitely grey with age. I'm sporting the old badger look these days, and the lion's mane doesn't go grey. They'll get, if anything, they may go a little bit darker, but it just depends on the genetic line. Very, very dark, striking looking individuals they've been, right to really blonde ones that like we've got with us now. So it just depends on the area, the geographical constraints that the animals have, whether it be in a particular region, and that's probably the characteristics or the governing factors over that. But I've never seen a lion's mane go grey, as I said, unlike my good self. Thank you, Wilma, for your question. I'm just going to roll down a little bit. So Tebs can get a little bit better angle. Good, mate? Thanks, mate. So we just moved down, just manners, just to ask if it's all right with everyone, just to get you a little bit better an angle and see the beautiful backlit mane and this individual just looking after himself. And as I said, everyone, urge you to take some screenshots and as I said, I urge you to take some screenshots and post them wherever you like to post things. It's great for us to see your interpretation and things that you find really lovely about these beautiful animals. I'm just going to take a couple of shots now, if it's okay, so you might hear me click away. Beautiful light on his mane there. We've got a question from Matthew in Los Angeles. Matthew, welcome aboard. Great to have you with us this morning. And your question is, do lions ever regurgitate their food for their cubs if the kill's a long way from their cubs? The answer to that is no, they don't. They'll normally the mother will be feeding them with milk until they're big enough to travel, and then she will either go and get the cubs and bring them to the kill, or that she will kill close by to them, but they don't have the same behaviour as wild dog. African wild dog, they definitely gorge themselves and then pretty much sleep most of the day. So very, very different from African wild dogs, but the mother will spend a fair bit of time making sure that the cubs get the opportunity to learn how to hunt, learn how to eat. As they get big enough, she'll start to come out of hiding and bring them down towards kills and things like that too. But it's only when they start eating meat. The interesting thing there is also they are very vulnerable, hugely vulnerable to other predators when they're young. So they have to be very careful, and not necessarily just other predators. It might be another coalition of males, and that brings me on to a subject that is not wonderful to think about or even see, but it does happen, and it's part of nature, and that's called infanticide. Now, if another pride or coalition was to come through and take over a pride and they had cubs, that coalition guaranteed would kill all the cubs. Now, the females may protect those cubs fiercely, and sometimes, very rarely, but sometimes they will survive one or two if the females are a big pride of females and it's only one male taking over. So it does happen, but generally infanticide will occur, and that is the complete wipeout or deletion, I suppose is another word, of that genetic line, and that will allow the successful male, the stronger male, to sire the next litter, and that will make the females also come into estrus, come into mating season very, very quickly. Sometimes they come into a false estrus, but a lot of the time they just come into estrus soon thereafter, and he will mate with them, and then his line will be successful, and they will have her cubs. They will have his cubs. So thank you for your question, mate. Great to hear you're watching, and lions do not regurgitate their food. The only time I've ever seen a lion regurgitate some of its food was it actually had a bone stuck. It was chewing bone, and it was coughing and coughing, and it brought up some food when it did try and get that bone out. But that's the only time I've ever seen that. He's definitely got something bugging him on that paw, and he's using those closely aligned incisors, which are the teeth in between his two big canines, and he can grab them together like tweezers, and he can try and get whatever it is out. He might have a thorn in his foot. The other individual over the other side there has woken up as well. So just coming back to that one that's licking his foot, he's using his incisors, as I was saying, to try and get something out of his paw there. Both of them are starting to groom now. Very, very peaceful here, folks. It's just one other vehicle and us, and the sounds of the African bush, and you're on Safari Live. Believe it or not, this is coming to you live from Africa. A lot of people during Big Cat Week and those primetime shows we did on Nat Geo Wild didn't believe that it was wild, and we really, really had to convince people it was live. This is live, and it's an extraordinary thing to be a part of. You are with us on the vehicle right here, right now, with these two beautiful lions, part of a coalition of 5 males called the Birmingham Boys, and they are only about 10 to 12 feet away from us, about 4 meters. So, you know, we talk about the big predators all the time, and they are beautiful, there's no doubt about it, but as I always say, the small things matter too. The small things matter so much. They really do, and there is no better place to see them than on bushwalk. And boy, do the guys on bushwalk deliver things that just fascinate you no end. Let's cross over to James and see what he's got for us.
Everyone, we're sitting here with a dung beetle rolling his or her ball, probably a her, and just watch carefully. When she loses orientation, she'll climb up onto the top of the ball, orientate probably with the sun, and then continue in the same way. Look at that, on top, turns around, finds out where she is, and starts moving. Now, pound for pound, some of the dung beetle species are the strongest animals in the world. They can lift, excuse me, up to 1,441, I think is the figure, times their body weight. That's like you or me lifting up 80 tons. Okay, that's, what's that? That's probably about 50 school buses. It's quite impressive. Not 50 school buses, sorry, my math is completely out. About 10 school buses. 20 school buses. 20 school buses. Can anyone out there lift up 20 school buses? I think not. Now, it seems to be starting to bury the dung. It's burying the dung. Look, she's digging a hole. This is incredible. We don't often see this. Look at that. She's pulling it under the ground. So she's laid an egg in there, everybody. And we often see them rolling the balls, but you seldom see where they're actually taking them. Oh, this is just too special. Oh, wow. Look at her. She's digging her little... I'm sure she would have pre-prepared this hole. That's why she knew where to go. She had to orientate herself. She knew this.
One of the males has walked over to the other one, and we noticed as he walked over, just as we chopped over to bushwalk, he stood up. The one that's got his head down on the ground, he's just got a very, very bad limp. You know how I was saying that he was licking that paw? I thought he might have had a thorn in it or something. He was very, very lame. So there was definitely something very, very wrong with his left front paw. And I'm really concerned that that's going to be slowing them down. That's one of the reasons they're probably not on the move and trying to relocate their other members of their coalition. But he's just laid down flat on his side, but it took him about, I don't know, 30, 40 seconds to walk over to that spot that he's in now. So we might reposition, folks, and just see where this individual's going. So just bear with me for a second, Tebs. I'm going to just start up and repo. Reposition. We stayed there for the simple reason I didn't make too many moves. We had other vehicles around us, so there's a huge amount of respect and
and ethics involved. You know, you want to make sure you don't disturb the animals first and foremost. Animals always come first, and then other guests and other individuals are just as important. So we'll just go up and see this boy here. He's just laid down. Again, he's laid down in some really lovely shade here. Hello, my boy. Very, very hot now, fella, isn't it? I'm just going to reposition for you, Tebs. Let's watch your back there. Hey, my boy. Very, 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 very hot. Is that good for you, Tebs? So we'll just go across to Pete for an update whilst we've just got this guy here now, and we'll come back to you as soon as there's any movement.
At least the line was moving a little bit, and we've been doing a bit of moving around this general area. As I said, we're looking for a leopard. We had the tracks, Brent and them were following him, Ephraim was helping as well. And it somehow seems that when we were looking at that giraffe earlier, when you were sitting with us, during that time, or in the sort of 10 minutes after that, that leopard actually crossed the road very close to where we were then. And he's now crossed even further west into a neighboring area, Simbambili, where we can't drive. So it seems the leopard has moved into an area for now that we can't follow. But no problem, we're going to be heading towards Bittles. I'm sorry, it's a bit of a bump. We have about 25 minutes left to the drive, so we want to go out to Bittles Dam. That's where we had Vula last night, the other male. Again, he probably would have moved, but that waterhole is always a good one to check. So we're going to make our way there, see if we can find, and see what this last part of the sunrise safari has in store for us. We spoke earlier about the tallest one ever mentioned, 20 feet, 6 meters tall. That's why it's always nice to be able to ask you guys so I can get the exact number, because in memory, you know how memory goes. You remember relative to what you were thinking at the time. 6 meters, it's like 2 stories in terms of height. 20 feet tall, amazing. Hello Vicky, and great to have you on drive again this morning with us. I apologize, sometimes we start to question and then things happen. I was going to tell you last night if I've ever seen any live birds. Yeah, not many. Wildebeest, we've seen a few wildebeest, we've seen a live one. Well, not that it's the same as seeing wild animals, but with cattle, we grew up with cattle and cattle farming, so obviously you see that process with them. And but it's not something you typically see. It's not something that sort of happens all that often. Obviously for animals, when they give birth, they want to be as private and as hidden from other animals as possible. All animals, both the adult and the baby, would be very vulnerable during birth. Even if you're a predator, I mean, if you're a lioness, you want to give birth in a place that's really quiet, where you're not going to be surprised by hyenas or leopard or something that might actually try and kill those cubs. Even lion cubs are very vulnerable to other predators in the first couple of weeks, even first few months after birth. So generally speaking, animals try and not be seen when they're giving birth. It's not something you can see that easily, unless for your plains game, things like wildebeest with a little bit of luck. One of my questions that comes up every so often, it's always a favorite, except I couldn't really make out your name very clearly. Zephyr Bro, something like that. You guys, Zephyr Bro, interesting name. Favorite animal? many favorite animals. I always say probably right at the top would be humans. I like humans, they're fascinating. I speak one or two of their languages, so that helps as well. And humans in sort of these kind of surroundings are very interesting to me. How they enjoy it, how they interpret it, how they appreciate it. In terms of the wild animals, my daughter on a pretty good day is pretty wild, but let's get off the human subject. I know what you're referring to, the four-legged kinds. Leopard, I like leopard a lot, huge fan of leopard. I haven't seen gorillas in the wild, I really hope to do so. In fact, I'd love to go there live and take you guys along. I think I might even be speechless for a little while. Gorillas would be amazing. Any of the big predators, obviously lion, bears. I would love to spend time with bears, grizzly bears especially. They seem absolutely fascinating. Tigers, really want to see tigers. Polar bears would be amazing. Many animals would make it into my favorite list. In fact, I would say probably most of them at some stage or another could be a favorite. But certainly in this area, the animal that I always want to see, always happy when I see one, are the leopard. Absolutely magical. We're just coming up to one of the boundaries here. There you can see the sign for one of the lodges to the north. We are heading straight east towards Bushwalk Dam. We will be there before the end of drive. Maybe there's some interesting activity with the water getting so low and all the fish there. But James has got something very interesting is the word we use too often. Very interesting. Enjoy it.
Everybody, the smell coming off this deceased giant plated lizard is quite appalling. There are ants in it, there are blowflies in it. How it died, we're not really sure. We found it next to, I think, what was at home, a termite mound just over there. Probably dragged out perhaps by a bird that was then disturbed before it could finish it. But this plated lizard is well dead. Jeandre, how would you describe the smell? Yeah, Jeandre can't actually open his mouth for fear of being sick. It really is quite disgusting. But you can see an amazing detail on the giant plated lizard's scales. And I mean, they're very quick things, these. It's not easy to catch them. And they eat a lot in the way of termites and other invertebrates and that sort of thing. Interesting colours. Very beautiful if you happen to be a herpetologist. Right, now, once we've got rid of that, very disgusting. What we did find was this beautiful flower, whose name I do not know, but what it smells like. It's candy floss. I don't know if you remember that cotton candy, I think you call it in the States, cotton candy at the fairground, and that's what it smells like. It is the most delicious smell you can imagine. You can see the anthers holding the pollen, lovely yellow colour, beautiful pink colour of the stalks holding the anthers, whose name I temporarily forget, and then inside will be the female parts of the flower, where the pollen will eventually go and they'll make new seeds, so that next season there can be more of these beautiful flowers. Oh, they smell just delightful. After that plated lizard, this is really quite special. Right, let us carry on through here. We're walking through some fairly thick bush, so we need to be fairly quiet and just walk gently, keeping an eye all the time and listening out for oxpeckers. Oxpeckers are the birds that eat the ticks off the backs of animals, and if we don't listen out for them, we could find ourselves walking into a buffalo or something like that. Could be an impala or nyala as well, but we do walk very carefully through here, listening all the time. Like I say, just a very special day to be on foot. It's not too hot, but it's warming up nicely, and the birds are calling, and it's just a wonderful atmosphere around the place. And as it gets warmer, you might be able to hear the cicadas starting up. Wonderful. They're my favourite summer insect. Makes me think of Christmas holidays. And I'm sure in the US And in fact, the whole of the Northern Hemisphere, the thought of a hot Christmas to you is almost kind of, it's anathema. It really must sound very strange indeed. But for us, the height of the summer, of course, is Christmas. And we can't imagine having a cold and snowy one, despite the fact that the commercials that we have out here and all the shops that we have advertise as snowmen and reindeer and that sort of thing. And obviously it's ridiculous in Africa because we don't really have cold Christmases at all. You can see the elephants have come through here and they've made the most tremendous mess. They've broken off these trees, they've chewed off the branches, they've pushed over that knobthorn tree there, I think it is. And to try and get a car through here, I mean, you've seen that we drive off-road a bit. To try and drive through where an elephant herd has had their brunch is extremely difficult. But the elephants, and while they do this, it looks quite damaging. And it is quite damaging to the trees. Some of them die. This knobthorn tree here is dead. Some of them don't die. A lot of the combretum trees are able to survive being pushed over, as are the marulas. But this knobthorn tree, while it's recently been pushed over, will eventually form an entirely new ecosystem of termites. There'll be scorpions living under the bark. There'll be wood-boring beetles going into the wood. There'll be fungus eating out the wood. And you'll find all sorts of other little things. Maybe a bird will come and make a nest in here at some stage. I suspect the termites from this termite mound here will come and chew away at the dead wood. So everything is used and everything is a little micro ecosystem wherever you look. Ooh, Jeandre, it's a little grasshopper. I'm not going to get in too close. I'll point where my shadow is. You see the shadow of the stick? There, with the tip of the shadow of the stick is where the grasshopper is. You got him. Right, that's the grasshopper. Now what I'm going to do, everybody, this grasshopper's got something called aposematic coloration. And what it does is it creates a, it'll flash red when we see it. And that red is kind of a warning to predators that they're toxic. It's also, it will probably give predators a fright. Now watch, I'm going to startle it. Jeandre, go a little bit wider maybe, and you'll get the flash of red as I move closer to the grasshopper. Too fast. That was very ambitious. They are extremely fast, as you saw. Took off at about Mach 4 or 5. And unless you've got a camera that can film at 75,000 frames per second, you're not going to get much out of that. Now we often talk about aardvark or aardvark, and just around this termite mound here, I'm just going to walk very carefully over here. Now one doesn't want to get too close to here. Alright, here we go. So Jeandre, if you wouldn't mind coming around here, we talk about aardvark or aardvark often. They're those long sort of, how to describe them, long-nosed ant-eating animals with very little hair on them. They're very muscular, they've got huge claws on them, and they're one of the only animals that are able to dig out the holes like this. And you watch that termite mound with the hyenas on it that Pieter was with earlier today. That would have been opened up by an aardvark originally, and this is what the burrows that they open up look like. And then of course hyenas will go into them, and wild dogs will go into them, and warthogs, all sorts of other things will live inside the mounds, but only once they've been opened up by the aardvark. So Marco, you want to know if there's anything on my bucket list that I would like to see while out here or in the wild. Certainly I'd like to see a tiger in the wild. I would also love to see wolves in the wild. So if I ever go to North America again, hopefully I'll be able to see some of the wolves in Yellowstone. That would be great. Okay, I think Jeandre and I are going to sign off here before we get him entangled in all the trees here. Thank you very much for your questions and coming along on this immersive bush experience here. It was just very special to be on foot this morning. I'm going to be on foot again this afternoon with Jeandre at 3 o'clock, at 4 o'clock, so please join us then. We will be live on the TV, of course, which is very exciting indeed. Thank you to the final control, and we'll hand you across to Pieter, who's at Buffelshoek Dam. See you this afternoon. Bye-bye.
Well, this is the perfect scene to arrive with at Buffelshoek Dam, because Buffelshoek Dam, if you translate the name directly, Buffelshoek, from the Afrikaans name would translate into buffalo corner. And that's what we've got here. Bunch of buffalo, beautiful bull there. It's actually a bachelor group, all males. And by the look of it, looks like they're going to spend most of the day here. Good water to drink. More importantly, nice mud, nice water to stay cool in. There's one just getting up. Now looking at the mud and the water just further to the right, we were at this dam yesterday afternoon, early evening. We were sitting here with Mvula, the leopard. And if you look here just to the right, there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hippos by the looks of it. And the marabou stork, the tall bird in the back. They're here to catch the fish. The hippos are here to try and stay cool in what's the last remaining water and mud of this waterhole. And I must say, for the hippos to an extent, but mainly for the fish, I do really hope that we get a good downpour somewhere in the next week or so before this water is gone. The catfish can burrow themselves into the mud and survive that way, but these fish, the tilapia, they can't. So if the water is gone, they've got a problem. Bless you.
Excuse me, thanks.
Typically, hippos want to do this in the day, stay nice and cool in the water, in the mud, and they come out at night. Hippos are grazers, so you can compare them to zebra, horses if you want, buffalo, eat grass, but they do so at night mainly. You can see by just the movement around the hippos, it's not really water anymore that they're in, it's more mud that they're in now. Happy hippos though. And the sun has come out beautifully now. You can see it just in the light, very bright, also nice and warm. Hey, vervet monkey with a tiny baby. It's a bit fast to see the details, but she's carrying a very small baby under her belly. It's called a vervet monkey. Marco, hello, welcome on Drive. You're just asking any more animals on my bucket list. I have a big bucket list. There's a lot of places and things to see in the world. And I've been fortunate enough to have seen a bunch of them, but at the same time, I'm not as well traveled as some, for instance, compared to, for instance, Hayden, that's been to so many different places. But certainly, just a quick thought, tiger, gorillas, polar bear, grizzly bear, the big things. And then, Marco, for me, also a large part of this experience is the habitats, the places you see. So I would love to see the big national parks in America, the wild wilderness areas of Norway, Asia, northern Russia, the Yucatan Peninsula. All these different areas, Antarctica, the penguins. So it's the wildlife, but it's also places where you still find iconic wildlife. Would very often be places that are iconically beautiful as well, just in the sense of the wilderness that they are in. Let's move a little bit. We're sitting on this side. I want to go sit on the other side of the waterhole. A bit of shade and just keep an eye out here. It's getting very hot now, so other animals might be arriving here as well. It would be great. We've only got a few minutes left, but not impossible that some elephants might arrive here. I think we're just going to spend some time around the waterhole here until the end of drive. See what else pops out. might have a little bit of break up here, and from the broadcast point of view, just going through the dip, so just hold on if it does. Breath. 7-8 minutes if they want to, but typically they go under the water for anything from about 20 seconds to about a minute. It's only if something really sort of bothers them or stresses them that that they'll hold their breath for longer. Beautiful view there. You can see all the animals together. The hippos, the marabou stalk in the foreground, busy grooming itself or preening. And as I said, those buffalo, I would guess, would actually be here till this afternoon. They've got nice mud to lie around in, so they'll just be taking it easy, enjoying a bit of a wallow. But on that note, from Bushwalk Dam, it's been a beautiful morning. Thank you as always for joining us. And for the last few minutes of the game drive, you're going to join Hayden Turner. He's loving being out in the drive as well. I know he was looking forward to it. Please say hi to him from me, and we'll see you this afternoon. Bye-bye.
Well, our boys haven't done a great deal, folks. They've just gotten into the shade. The sun has definitely broken through and burnt off that cloud. When we did see that individual, we just had the camera on there, walk across to his brother or member of his coalition. He had a seriously lame front left foot, and he was licking that constantly before. Remember, we were talking about he was trying to use his incisors, these ones in the front, closely put together, to try and pull out a thorn or something on his foot. So he's in a little bit of distress there, not able to put much weight on it at all. We'll keep a good eye on that, and Pieter and James will pick up on that this afternoon. Just got a question from Marco in New Jersey, and I think Pieter and James have also answered it about what animals are on my bucket list or our bucket lists. One definitely for me would be lynx. I'd love to see a lynx. I'd also love to see grey wolf. Antarctica, polar bears I still haven't seen in the wild. So there's loads of things, but really great question to ask us and to get a little bit more insight about the globe as a whole. Well, it's been great to be in the vehicle today and driving around, even though we were static a lot of the time with these lions. I didn't really want to leave them just in case they did move on, or particularly that other male from the coalition came back, because that would have been a really beautiful piece of interaction to watch. And it's just about patience. It's just about hanging out with these creatures, and what a privilege it is to be in the presence of these creatures, for the toleration of them. And we're only 10 feet away from them, and they must, and I'm talking quite at quite a level. They're not disturbed whatsoever. They're comfortable with our voices. They're habituated. They're comfortable and habituated, and that's the most important thing everyone needs to know. So I will be back in the tent this afternoon, folks, for another stint in there. We'll bring you some fascinating little tidbits as the drives go on, and I'm sure the guys out on walk and the trackers and Pieter and James will bring you fantastic, wonderful encounters today around the reserves on the beautiful Arathusa and Djuma game reserves here in Sabi Sands. It's been an absolute pleasure to be with you this morning. It really does make my heart sing when I get into the saddle and get out here and see these guys. So just a big thank you, and thanks again. We'll see you later on this afternoon.